The silence in that room screamed louder than any fight. I stood frozen, just inside the doorway. Rich people smell different, all expensive perfume and cold air. My parents sat at the long, shiny table, looking like they always did. Perfect, on the outside, empty where it counted. My sister, wrapped in some fancy green dress, looked up from her phone. Her eyes flicked over me, and a small, mean smile touched her lips. She whispered to Mom, who gave a little laugh, like I was a bug they'd just stepped on. I didn't even blink. Not anymore. My name is Maya Carter. It's the name they tried to bury. I walked in. No makeup, no labels on my clothes. Just me. Why? Is she here? Chloe's voice was sharp this time. The old lawyer, Mr. Henderson, cleared his throat. He was Grandpa's friend, and the only one who looked like I belonged. He held a thick, cream-colored envelope. "Before we start," he said, his voice a little shaky, "your grandfather left one last letter. It has to be read to all of you." The room went quiet, heavy and waiting. Dad's jaw tightened. Mom's smile vanished. I stayed still. I already knew what that letter held. I wasn't there for leftovers. I wasn't there to cause trouble. I was there to finish a story they thought they'd ended without me. They thought I was gone, a failure, someone who'd always struggle. But Grandpa always believed in making things right. The letter trembled in Mr. Henderson's hand. As he opened it, their carefully built world was about to crack, and I was the only one standing steady. They always said Chloe was special. From the moment she was born, it was like she was the only one who mattered. Blonde, always smiling with these bright, innocent eyes that everyone loved. Mom would beam, put a perfect hand on her little head and say, "She's our angel." No one ever said anything about me. For her 6th birthday, they had a huge party with ponies and a clown. There were banners with her name, mountains of pink, presents, and a cake that was bigger than my head. I stood off to the side, holding a cheap camera, taking pictures while she posed like a princess. 2 months later, on my birthday, I got a plain gray shirt, too big, no party, no candles. Just Mom saying, "You've always been easy, that's a good thing." I just nodded. I didn't cry. I never did. I just tucked the hurt away where no one could see it. One Christmas, I'd saved up my allowance to buy a little wooden bird from a street vendor. I was going to wrap it and pretend it was from someone who cared. But the night before, I saw Chloe crying because she didn't get the expensive doll she wanted. So, I gave her the bird. I told her Santa must have made a mistake. She giggled, hugged me for a second, then ran off to show our parents. No one asked where it came from. No one thanked me. That's just how it always was. She shone bright. I stayed in the shadows. She asked. I gave in. She was the golden one, the perfect picture they showed everyone. And me? I was just there, holding everything together, never seen for myself. It was a cold Sunday afternoon, even inside the house. The curtains were shut tight, and the old clock in the hall ticked too loud in the quiet. Dad had gotten so thin, so quiet, not the booming man he used to be. Sick, they said. The kind of sick that doesn't give you time to say goodbye. We're all in the living room. Mom sat straight as a board next to him, her face hard. Chloe was twisting a strand of her perfect hair, looking bored, probably thinking about her next shopping trip. And me? I sat on the edge of the worn armchair, in the corner, the one that groaned when you moved. I didn't move. My hands were folded tight in my lap, even though my heart was pounding like it wanted to escape. Mr. Henderson arrived a little after 3, carrying a thin brown folder. Everyone straightened up except Dad, who didn't even lift his head. "Mr." Henderson cleared his throat. "This won't take long." He started to read the will, talk about money, stocks, all that legal stuff. Then he said, like it was nothing, "To my younger granddaughter, I leave $15 million to be given to her as soon as I pass." Chloe smiled, not surprised, just satisfied. She waited for the next part. I waited for my name. It didn't come. Instead, there was a long silence. Then Mom said without looking at me, "We just figured you'd manage. You always do." That was it. No apology, no reason, not even pretending they cared. My throat burned, but I didn't cry. I just nodded once, a nod that hurt more than yelling ever could, and stood up. No one stopped me. No one even called my name. As I walked towards the front door, I saw a picture on the small table in the hall. Dad holding Chloe when she was a baby, smiling like she was the only thing he ever loved. I looked at it for a second. Then I opened the door, stepped out into the cold, and closed it behind me, quieter than they deserved. That day, they cut me out. But it was also the day I started my real life, a life they knew nothing about. The days just ran together. When you have nowhere to be, time doesn't mean anything. Morning, afternoon, night, all just shades of the same quiet emptiness. I stayed on a friend's floor for a while, then someone's couch, then just nowhere. Dinner was whatever I could afford that didn't need a kitchen. Crackers, cheap noodles, sometimes half a sandwich someone else had thrown away. I told myself it wouldn't last. I lied to myself a lot back then. Rejection emails filled my inbox. "We regret to inform you." Every time I saw those words, it was like someone was agreeing with my parents. I wasn't good enough. I didn't sleep much. Some nights, I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if maybe they were right. Maybe I was invisible. Maybe I was only meant to survive, not to actually live. Meanwhile, my phone kept showing me what I didn't have. Chloe laughing, on a fancy vacation in Italy. My parents toasting with champagne in some expensive restaurant. The caption, "Family is everything." The cruelest part wasn't just that they were living their lives. It was how easily they had erased me. I remember, one night I was freezing, desperate, and past being proud. I knocked on their door. Mom opened it just a crack. She didn't ask me in. I asked quietly, "Can I just stay for a few nights? Until I find something steady?" She looked around like someone might see. Then she said, "Chloe's sleeping. We can't have any noise. I'm sorry." And she shut the door. No goodbye, no hug, just the click of the lock. I stood there on the porch until my legs felt like they would give out. And then I walked away, not because I had anywhere to go, but because I couldn't stay there anymore. Later that night, I sat alone in a small, dim motel room with a buzzing light above me. I pulled out an old photo from my wallet, one I hadn't looked at in years. It was me and Grandpa sitting on a park bench. I couldn't have been more than 8. He had his arm around me, and he was smiling like I was the only person in the world. That's when it hit me. Maybe I wasn't worthless. Maybe I was just waiting for the one person who truly saw me to be remembered. It started with a letter. Plain white envelope, no return address, just my name in Grandpa's familiar handwriting. Inside was a short note. "Meet me at the Old Oak, Sunday, 2 p.m. That old oak, the one by the river, where we used to skip stones and tell secrets." Hadn't heard from Grandpa since before the will. I thought maybe he'd forgotten me too, or worse, chosen to stay silent. But when I got there that Sunday, he was already there, sitting on the roots of the tree, looking small and tired. He didn't smile right away. He just looked at me for a long time, his eyes sad. "Sit down, Maya," he said. So I did. For a few minutes, we didn't say anything, just listened to the river flowing and the birds singing. Then he sighed. "They think I didn't see it, but I did." My throat felt tight. I couldn't finish. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick envelope. Heavier than it looked. Bank papers, documents, something official looking. "This isn't charity, Maya. It's what you deserved. What they were too busy to notice." Tears welled up in my eyes. I hadn't cried like this since that night on the porch. He put his hand over mine. "Don't let their smallness define you. Build something real, and when you're ready, show them what they lost." I nodded. Not because I had a plan, but because for the first time in a long time, I felt like I mattered to someone. My first real apartment was tiny, a bed that folded out of the wall, a small desk, and a window that looked out onto a brick wall. But it was mine. No one could tell me I didn't belong there. Every morning, I woke up before sunrise and started working on my laptop. I took online classes, learned about websites, marketing, anything I could. I wrote notes on scrap paper, studied while eating instant noodles, and every Sunday I met with Grandpa. Or talked to him on the phone when he couldn't go out. He'd ask what I was learning, what I was building, what mistakes I'd made. Then he'd say, "Mistakes are just lessons you pay for." He believed in me, even when I doubted myself. I started small, making simple websites for local businesses. Then I learned about social media, then online advertising. People started to notice. Word spread. I poured every bit of money back into the business. While I worked, Chloe partied. Her social media was a constant stream of expensive trips and designer clothes. One week she was in the Bahamas, the next in Paris. Fancy cars, fancy friends, probably a lot of debt. She had millions, and yet nothing she had was growing. Me, I had nothing at first, but I was planting seeds. Within 2 years, my small business was making real money. Then I hired a few people. Then we got a small office. Quietly, without any big announcements, I was becoming someone new, someone solid. I didn't chase fame. I chased building something that would last. I never posted about my success. I didn't need likes to feel real. I had Grandpa's voice in my head. Build quietly. Let their noise be their downfall. So I built and waited, knowing that one day they would hear from me, again, in a way they never expected. The conference room looked the same. Same shiny table, same uncomfortable chairs, same smug faces across from me. Mom gave me a quick look, polite but cold, like I was someone she'd met once. Dad still hadn't looked up from his phone. And Chloe? She rolled her eyes when I sat down. She actually showed up. She whispered to her fiancé, loud enough for me to hear. "This should be interesting." Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. His hands were shaking a little more this time. "This is the final reading of the will of Arthur Carter, his last and binding wishes." He opened the envelope slowly, unfolding the paper with care. The room was silent. To my younger granddaughter, the one who always craved the spotlight and never understood true value, I leave exactly what she chased. Fleeting attention. She has always taken more than her share. Chloe's face went white. Her smile vanished. To my children, who valued money over character and forgot what family truly means, I leave only my name. May they remember what it once stood for. Dad finally looked up, his face angry. "What is this?" Mr. Henderson raised a hand. "To my eldest granddaughter, the one they told to simply survive, you have done so much more. The rest of them will now learn to live with her success." There was a pause, a breath that held the whole room captive. "I leave my entire estate, my remaining fortune, controlling shares of Carter Industries and everything in my private trust, to my granddaughter, Maya Carter. She earned what none of you could buy, my unwavering belief. Mom gasped. Chloe's chair scraped back as she stood, up, tears already streaming down her face. This isn't right. She must have done something. She doesn't deserve this. I didn't react. I didn't move. I just looked at Mr. Henderson and gave a small nod. Let them be angry. Let them be shocked. They thought I came for a small piece. But I came to take back what was always meant to be mine. And as I stood to leave, I turned to them one last time and said, "You were given everything. I had to earn it." I thought that was the end. But people like Chloe don't disappear quietly. 3 weeks after the will reading, I got a legal notice, a lawsuit, accusations of manipulation, of taking advantage of a sick old man. She didn't call. She didn't try to talk. She went straight to court. The local news ate it up. Carter family battle. Sister accuses estranged sibling of stealing fortune. She gave interviews, looking fragile and wronged. He was sick. She got to him. That money was rightfully mine. And for a while, it almost worked. The courtroom was crowded. Cameras flashed. People whispered. My parents sat behind her, their faces hard, as if their silence could somehow erase their part in all of this. Then came the day I had to face her in court. She stood on the witness stand, her voice shaking with carefully practiced anger. She doesn't deserve any of this. She lied to him. Her voice cracked, tears welling in her eyes. Every part of her performance was designed to make me look like the villain, to tear down everything I had built. I didn't interrupt. I just waited for the judge to finish taking notes. Then I stood up, calm and steady. I have one final piece of evidence. I handed the judge a USB drive. A video started to play on the courtroom screen. Grandpa sitting by that old oak tree, his eyes clear, his voice strong. If Chloe challenges this, it only proves what I already knew. She never earned anything. She only knows how to take. And if you're watching this, she's still trying. The silence that followed was deafening. The judge ruled in my favor within minutes. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed as Chloe sobbed into her lawyer's shoulder, her perfect life crumbling in front of every camera. I walked past her slowly, didn't gloat, didn't stop. But I did whisper. You were given chances. I had to make my own. I didn't move into the big house right away. Not because I didn't deserve it, but because I didn't need to prove anything anymore. Instead, I started a foundation in Grandpa's name, helping young entrepreneurs who didn't have the advantages others did. The first office of the foundation was in that old house, a place of new beginnings. I never heard from Chloe again. Not directly. But I saw her name in the news a few times. Always something about a new business venture that failed. Or a public argument. She had all the resources, but she never learned how to build anything herself. She lost everything the way she had lived, loudly, publicly, and all at once. I didn't follow her story. I was too busy building my own. They gave her everything to shine. But in the end, I found my own light. As the courtroom emptied and the cameras finally turned away, a sense of quiet victory settled over me. It wasn't about the money or the company. It was about finally being seen, finally having my worth acknowledged. Grandpa's belief had given me the strength to build a life they never thought possible, a life rooted in genuine effort and purpose. Looking back, the years of being overlooked, the sting of their dismissal, the cold reality of being cut out, it all fueled a fire within me. It wasn't a fire of revenge, but one of determination. I wanted to show them, not with angry words, but with the quiet strength of my own success, that their judgment was wrong. And in the end, the truth, like Grandpa always said, had a way of making itself known. This journey, This fight to reclaim my own narrative hasn't been easy. There were moments of doubt, nights filled with worry, and times when the weight of it all felt overwhelming. But the memory of Grandpa's unwavering faith and the quiet satisfaction of building something meaningful kept me going. My voice may be just words on a screen, but the journey I've shared with you, the pain of being unseen, the fight to rise above, that's real. If even a sliver of my struggle, my eventual triumph, has stirred something within you, if you've ever felt overlooked or had to fight for your place, then connect with this story. A like is a whisper of solidarity. A subscription is a promise to hear more voices like mine. Let's amplify the stories of those who had to fight to be heard. If you felt this, show it. Thank you.